All right. Appreciate you guys for taking the time today. I know with the weather, it's a little bit crazy around here with driving and stuff. So we'll just go ahead and get it started. Coach, if you could open us up with a statement, then we'll jump right into questions.
Yep. Been a little bit crazy over here too with the weather, and obviously, obviously a tough week for us. Obviously, felt like we're right there in the Liberty game, and I thought we made some, obviously didn't play perfect, but made some steps in the right direction there. And obviously, Tegan Moore had an injury at the end of that game. Had a pretty good practice the next day. Armello Boone tweaked his ankle at the very end of that. So two consecutive days where obviously some unfortunate injury issues for our team and a very tough road trip to Sam Houston. So obviously trying to gather ourselves, get back together, and got two more, because the second half of the league coming up here, two more road games this week, and we'll try to bounce back and get together and kind of get back to our basics and try to make sure we go represent ourselves well on Wednesday and try to get a win.
Sure, Hank. Are you any healthier going into this next game? And give me an update on their status. Oh,
I would say probably undoubtful is the word I'd use. I think Armello Boone is probably it's a possibility for Saturday, would be from what I heard this morning. Tegan Moore still showing some symptoms, so I would think Tegan Moore is probably out Wednesday. I think it's too soon to tell any kind of head injury, and he has a history of these, so obviously trying to be careful with Tegan. But I'd be, I guess, a little bit surprised maybe if he'd play Wednesday or Saturday. I do think Armello Boone for Saturday is a possibility.
Our coach, obviously, you go into a game like Saturday without your two leading scorers, that's going to change the offense up a little bit. How are you kind of now knowing that you might not have those guys this week? How are you working to kind of build that offense up a little bit?
Well, I don't know. We need to play with a lot more confidence and pace and gusto than we did on Saturday. I mean, we haven't had turnover issues all year, and we just play with some hesitancy, and teams are trying to really get into us and punk us and be physical and stuff like that. So it really didn't matter what we did on Saturday. It was really an issue with how we did it. So I mean, we passing, catching, cutting, squaring up, catching the ball and not just wasting your dribble. We're going to really work on the very basic things that go into being a successful offensive team. It doesn't really matter what play you run if you're not catching the ball where you want to catch it. It doesn't really matter what play you run if you're not catching and squaring up in the post and you're not and inside the arc you're not catching the ball where you want to. It's a very physical game, and I think that even though we have some guys that haven't shot the ball great, teams aren't backing off of us. Teams are getting all up in us. Kennesaw did that the first time. They switch off the ball. They try to really push your catches out. So we need to make sure our cutting is good. We need to score backdoor at the rim. We need to get touches. We can't just run to the ball when we don't know what to do. We've got to be able to play with pace and transition. So really trying to get back to some of the things that we built our foundation on in October, November that it seemed like were non-existent on Saturday.
Sam Houston was the second game where you guys seemed to go a little bit smaller, a little bit quicker with more minutes for Leroy, less for Noah, and I'm not sure if Blaze is still sort of injury restricted a little bit there. Is that what you plan to do going forward, or is it based on matchups?
It's based on how those guys play. I wouldn't say anything's based on matchups. I'd say at this point, whoever plays with a passion to win and representing the name on the front of that jersey is going to play. And Leroy's usually the very top of that. Blaze has had Blaze is still, I don't know, he's not restricted due to he's been a little bit banged up here last week or two, but I expect Blaze to play. He's got to be able to move up and down the floor, obviously. So just making sure he's good to go. But I mean, I wouldn't say we're doing anything based on matchups at this point. We're doing on who refuses to lose, who plays with a passion, who wants WKU to win, who is going to make us all proud of the effort and heart that they play with, who has a fighting spirit, who is competitive, who refuses to lose, or if we're struggling, goes down without a fight. And I think Leroy's at the very top of our team at that. And he's 6'11", 230. So I don't consider playing Leroy going small. I think he's the best shot blocker and probably the best lob catcher we have. So I think when we take Leroy, Blaze, and Noah out and play Grant, that's probably a little bit small. And obviously Kennesaw is tricky because, they're probably the trickiest team in the league because Braden Liu plays the five and he's 6'8", 230 or 6'9", 230, but obviously a three-point threat and a very versatile player. So it was hard for Noah and Blaze the first game versus Kennesaw. Um, I guess we're at the point really with our team, really obviously in the little skid that we're on here and trying to find ourselves, that it's a lot less about the other team and it's about a lot more what we do. We're going to reward the guys. I mean, we have proven 5 days ago that we're right there with the best of the best in our league. So we know at our best we can compete. We've proven that time and time again this year. But obviously, it's a very fine line, and everybody in college basketball and everybody in our league, except for Liberty, seems to have these ups and downs. And I wish we were immune to them. We've tried to build a competitive character to make us immune to that. But obviously, Saturday was we had a little bit of a lack of. We made things worse on Saturday when things went wrong. So when that starts happening, I think you go back to really who wants to you know, play with a passion and who wants to compete and who refuses to quit. And obviously, to me, Leroy and Cade Stinnett were the two players that clearly played with that purpose and that passion on Saturday. So just trying to when you go on the road, you got to fight. Like it's you can't turn the ball over. You got to rebound. You got to stay in front of the ball. You got to pressure on defense. But you can't beat yourself. And we had some guys that I think we were trying to maybe a little panicked a little bit. Man, when things went wrong, we tried to over dribble. But you can't that gets you beat very badly. So you need guys that fight in the right way and are competitive in the right way. And I just thought that Leroy and Cade Stinnett were the two guys that did the best job at that on Saturday.
Obviously, your first game up this week, Coach, against Kennesaw. That one's still fresh on the mind from at home a couple of days ago. What is one thing or a couple of things you're taking away from that home matchup that you're trying to implement into this next one?
Yeah, I mean they have 5, 6 guys that play really hard and they're kind of interchangeable. I thought we did some switching on defense in that game and they kind of used it against us. They really tried to take advantage of matchups. So a couple of ways that they got into that we need to try to either be careful of or have a different game plan for. I think we had some stretches in that game where we obviously took a 1 point lead, 15 minutes to go, 50-48 with 11 minutes to go. You feel like you're right there, and that's how fickle this is. I mean, you play a good 11 minutes right there, you're in second place and you're feeling good. And unfortunately, when things go the other direction, it's a very fragile deal. So if we're not hungry to play them and to battle and to compete, I thought they physically punked us in the first game. I think whatever team's more physical usually wins in this league. It seems like each team gets called for about 7 fouls each half by late January. So if you're going to be physical and create contact, you're more successful. I thought we beat Missouri State because we were more physical and successful. I thought the first game versus Sam, we were the physical team. I thought at UTEP we were the physical team. And in the losses, we've been, we can whine and we can say that this happened, but it's not officiating. That's nothing like that. Like that's what Conference USA basketball is. So we really just need to go bring an edge to us. We need to bring a physicality. We need to not let them get to their spots. We need to keep that ball in front. We need to guard with the physicality. We need to get by them and get paint touches, and be disciplined. So just having a purpose and a sense to our every action that we take, especially not shying away from the physical component of the game, I think will be a key to winning on Wednesday.
And then obviously next up after that, Middle Tennessee. It's a team you haven't saw yet this year, but it looks like they're playing some decent basketball. It's a rivalry matchup, so that obviously brings something into it always. But what are you seeing out of Middle this year?
I mean, they're pretty big. They play Lands, Alston, and Loof all together. So yeah, three guys, 6'8", 6'10", 6'11" across the front, and then they've been shooting the ball well. The kid Oglesby's been shooting the ball great. Javon Carter's shooting the ball great. Green off the bench, very good player. I mean, they have their continuity is certainly stands out. They got some guys that have been in that program and they have some experience winning. Seems like every game they've played has been close. They've won some and lost some. I guess the good part is, it seems like they've probably, if they get a lead, you feel like you can come back on them, and if they get behind, they're going to storm right back at you. So I think they have a very high upside. I think they're very talented. They don't beat themselves. They've been moving the ball good. They can score at all 5 positions, and obviously, there's all the other stuff that goes into that game. So if our juices aren't flowing for that one, then there's something wrong with us.
Just back to Kennesaw too. Saw Johnson last time out. I think he scored 1 point. Obviously, a few more than that against you guys. Does that just show that this is a hard team to focus on now, especially without Cottle on that team? To
I don't
focus
know. I
on one
still, I,
guy.
I still think he becomes the focus. I was very curious how that happened, and I think there were some strategy things that Louisiana Tech did. I also think that um, he got off to he missed some shots at the beginning of the game that he usually makes, and maybe that adjusted what they did. But obviously, He did score a few more against us. He scored a few more in the game after that too. So all of a sudden he's averaging 28, 29. I mean, they lost the game. He scored one. So I guess I think if he scores 30, they're gonna be very hard to win. I think if he scores one, they're a little bit less dynamic. So he's the guy that's proven that he can really excel with the ball in his hands, and he's such a physical player. That if he gets to his spots, uh, he's very effective, and they seem to be a little bit better. He's been very efficient. Even the game where he had 1 point, I think he's 1 for 5. It's not like he went 2 for 16. So I think he doesn't beat them. I think he plays with the right intent to win, and I do think that trying to hold him in single digits will be a key to the game.
Coach, with weather like this going on, does this give your guys more opportunity to kind of get in the gym, no classes, anything like that, to kind of lock in for a week like this on the road?
I don't know. Is we just had 7 weeks with no classes, and we had a couple classes last week, but we had a road trip. So I mean, it feels like school hasn't even started, to be perfectly honest with you. Um, yeah, we lock in the gym, focus on film. Yeah, we've been consistently doing that. I think we gotta. There's we're a little bit of an older group, and obviously we're a little injured. So like just a combination of taking care of your bodies too. It's a fine line, between what we want to do as far as working and improving while still being fresh and at our absolute best Wednesday night at 6:30 or whatever time the game is. So, these guys, it's not a lack of effort or work put in. Those aren't our issues. I do think, I know we have weights this morning, two groups, they're in there right now. Every player has an individual where they work on their, what exactly they need to do to affect the game. And then we're going to practice at one for a while and work on some, like I said, some of those being efficient. Yeah, our offense, but passing, catching, catching the ball in the right spots, not being shoved out. And obviously continue to get better on the defensive end. I think we've improved on the defensive end. If we can get our offense back figured, I mean, versus Missouri State, when we're efficient on offense, we're a hard team to beat. So I think, and obviously we have some personnel stuff for sure, but I think we need to just continue to keep on figuring this out. Even as poorly as we were playing versus Sam, when we were getting good shots, we were hanging in there. And then when we got rushed and bad shots, it was the run outs and transition. And that's really what you can't let your offense beat you on the back end. So we got to keep figuring out how to keep getting better as a basketball team. And obviously there's plenty of time to do it. It's a combination of film, skill, and practice. And we'll keep trucking along and be ready to go Wednesday night.
All right. Appreciate you guys for hopping on. And we will see you guys next week.
All right. Thank you all.